What makes you happy?
Be yourself, be positive. Just another mindset.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a new episode of the Just Another Mindset podcast, the show that inspires you to change and live a more exciting life. My name is Ismael, and each week I bring to you a relevant conversation, topic, or theme that will not only entertain you, but that will help you to change towards a more meaningful and satisfying life, individually and collectively. Let us get inspired and embrace collective changes for the better. In today's episode, I want to talk about friendship. Today's episode is a very current one, and it actually came to me that I want to record and say something about friendship because I just celebrated a big celebration of friendship with some of my friends. And first of all, I want to say thank you for being a friend. And also, a few things came to mind that I thought would be worthy sharing. And for that, it would be super interesting for me if you let me know what you think about the episode. Does the episode help you? Does the episode resonate with you? And is there something that you can take away from it? It's really personal thoughts on friendship, on something that's super important for me. And it would be more than interesting to hear from you if there is bits and pieces that you didn't think about yet. And if you agree on friendships and the thoughts that I have on friendships. And with that, I wish you a wonderful experience listening to the upcoming episode, and I'm already looking forward to hearing from you. Enjoy. So what are we going to talk about in today's episode? Why should you care? For me, friendships are important for your physical and your mental health. Friendships make you more confident and create the ability for yourself to build trust. Friendships can also take stress away. And friends, for me, create the emotional foundation for life. So what are the three main takeaways of today's episode? The first one would be that friendship is a choice. The second one is that there's different types of friendships. We're going to discuss some of them in today's podcast episode. And all of those types have their right for existence. And the third main takeaway, for me, is that it really helps to be honest with yourself, but also with your friends, and to communicate changes. So before starting this podcast episode, I want to give some context. To the more frequent listeners, it's probably very clear that I value friendships and relationships very high in my life. It's something super important. And therefore, I planned a birthday celebration almost 2.5 years back for a lot of my friends. A global pandemic has happened and we did not have the opportunity to party, to celebrate together. Now, almost 2.5 years after the initial date that was set to have the celebration took place. And we had such a wonderful weekend that I just wanted to share my thoughts on friendship, that I wanted to share my thoughts on how to nurture friendship and why it's such an important thing to me. And it can also be a reminder for yourself to check in with you and with your friendships and wonder whether or not you are spending sufficient time with your friends or if there's something that you may want to change about it. So what is friendship? So before we look into some ways that I use to nurture my friendship, I believe it's vital to understand what friendship is. What is friendship? Well, first of all, friendship is flexible and dynamic. Your life changes, your life circumstances also do change, and so do your friendships, and that's something we can all acknowledge. Friendship is also a choice. Unlike your family members whom you have genetic ties to, and unlike your co-workers whom you have business ties to, you can freely choose your friends. And you can freely choose the people you want to spend time with. So really understand that friendships are voluntarily and friendship is a choice. But also keep in mind that friendships are more fragile. Due to the fact that there is no real strings attached, we can change and swap our friendships more easily than, for example, your family members. For me, there's three main types of friendships. The first one being the friend for a reason. What do I mean by that? Friends for a reason are people who you hang out with, who you are friends with for a particular reason. Because you share a school class, a university class, a workplace, you live in close proximity, there is some connecting factor, some reason that connects you. Then there's a second category, and that is friends for a season. Those are people whom you share values and activities perhaps with for a particular time of your life. This could be a few weeks, this could be a few months, and this could even be a few decades. And then there's a third category, whom I call friends for life. And those are really the people that you choose to make and to nurture your friendships with over a full lifetime. There's perhaps not so many of them, but those are obviously the closest and the longest friends you can imagine. And for all those three different types of friendships, there are certain elements that we share with a friend. The first one is mutuality. And what do I mean by that? I think it is important to have a common understanding with your friend and with your friendships in general of what type of friend you are. Are you a friend of life? Are you someone very close? Or are you someone that you engage with every once in a while? Only if both sides have a similar, at least, understanding of whom you are dealing with, it makes a true friendship. It makes it much more difficult for both sides if one person sees a very close friend in the other person, and the other person does not seem or deem this person to be a close friend, but just an acquaintance. This will, over the long term, for sure create frustration and not so nice feelings. So the first thing in a friendship, the first element to take care of, is to create a common ground and an understanding of what kind of friendship you have. The second one is to support each other. What do I mean by that? I think in a friendship, it's super important to support each other. To support each other in difficult moments, but also to celebrate together in more easy and more nice moments that we all have in our lives. I think the more closer we get, the more we celebrate, the more we support each other. And it's important to have some people in your life whom you can fully trust to support you when you are down. And it's also important to have people in your life whom you can celebrate and be happy with. The third element are certain boundaries. And this may sound like we want to push away certain people, but we may not. Depending on the agreement that you and your friend have, there might be boundaries that you and your friends have. There might be topics that you discuss, there might be topics that you do not discuss. With your very close friends, you may not have boundaries because you have a relationship where you talk open and honest about each and everything. But with some other friends, you may have an unspoken or even a spoken agreement that some topics, some activities are off limits and are not to be part of this friendship. The fourth element for me of a friendship is affection and caring for each other. For me, a good friendship creates more energy than it takes. If you hang out with someone, if you spend time with someone and it drains energy from you, you may want to question this friendship and you may want to question the interaction with that particular person. So, is that person giving you more energy than it consumes? Is there true affection and love that you have for the other person? Or is it someone that you just need to spend time with because they sit in the same office or because they go to the same university? And that all plays into the fifth element of friendship, which for me is ease. To me, a real friendship is then established if both people, or even more than two, can feel comfortable next to each other while being authentic and while being themselves for 100%. If people feel good about whom they're spending time with, If people can be authentic with the people that they spend time together with, I believe this is true friendship. And this is one of the reasons that I'm recording today's podcast, because I felt that even though it was 20 people, some of which knew me since 20 plus years, some of which only knew me for a year and a half, still got to manage to be authentic together with themselves, to organize, to hang out, and to have such a nice celebration. And I'm recording today's episode mainly to share my excitement and happiness and my thoughts on friendship, and hope that you can take away something and hope that you can nurture your friendships as well. Another element of friendship for me is vulnerability. You do not have to open up to each and every of your friends, but if you open up to a close friends, if you talk about sensitive information, if you talk about your vulnerabilities, and if you talk about your weaknesses and your fears, it certainly does increase your trust, and it does create an intimacy with your friends and your relationships. So this is something that helps me to understand whether or not a person is a good friend or a close friend, is to understand, do I open up? Do I feel fully trusted? And do I feel able to be vulnerable with this person as well? And the seventh element of friendship for me is predictability. It helps to understand how often will you guys engage. Is it fine that you do not hear from this very person for a week, for a month, for half a year? Or should you be concerned? Is there something that you have as a common agreement, as in how often you will speak, what you're going to speak about? And is it also an understanding that if the one person does not reach out for a particular time, the other person should do so instead? We talked about different types of friendships earlier, being friends for a reason, friends for a season, and friends for life. And in a recent other podcast episode that I had with Dominique, we also talked about different layers of friendship. I, for myself, distinguish 4 levels of friendships. I have an inner layer of friendships. I have an outer layer of friendships. I have acquaintances. And I have people with whom I lost touch with. And I actively keep track of all those people. I'm often reminded of Dunbar's number, which basically is a theory that the human brain has a capacity to maintain 150 relationships and not more. To be honest, to me, 150 people, 150 relationships already sounds a lot. I know that I care a lot for my friends, and I know that I have a lot of friends. But nevertheless, in my inner circle, the really close friend layer, I have 8 people, which some people already would say is a lot. And this inner circle is really my very, very close friends. The people that I actively and very regularly check in with. And this is followed by an outer layer, who I describe as people who I care about much in my life. This is roughly 30 to 35 people at the current state of my life. Again, some people may argue that this is already a lot, but I myself invest a lot of time into nurturing my friendships, and I value a lot having those close friends. And I also value having this outer layer and nurturing my friendships with people whom I do not meet necessarily super often, but whom I know if I meet them, it's going to be a super fun and great time. And then there's a third layer of acquaintances, which I define as people who I do like, but whom I do not necessarily meet or talk to too often. This can be people who were my close friends or my closer friends earlier in life, but where life has changed our circumstances and where life has changed our environments. And therefore, we still care for each other, we still like each other, and I wish each and every of my acquaintances the very best for their lives. But it's just happened that we don't spend as much time and as much active time together in our lives, which is perfectly fine, because I believe it's also important to understand when to let go and when to accept that a friendship might have been for a season and not for life. So why is it so important to have friends and to nurture your friendships? For me, but I believe really for a lot of people. Well, first of all, friendships, I believe, create physical health. Healthy relationships are actually good for your physical health. It is said that having a close circle of friends can literally reduce your risk of physical health problems such as heart diseases, such as diabetes, or such as strokes. And most certainly, having strong social connections with other people will decrease your likelihood of being lonely and will increase your likelihood to be happy and to live an exciting life. Your friends can help you to set and achieve goals to, for example, eat more healthy, do more exercise, or just live a healthier life. Usually, changing something about your lifestyle is more fun together with a friend as well. And friends can also watch out for you and give you a certain heads up if unhealthy behavior continues to grow, such as drinking alcohol, such as working too much, such as not working out sufficiently. A good friend is there, and a good friend will communicate very openly and very directly that something should change. Another factor is that a friend can give you emotional support. If you go through a hard time in your life, and all of us have, and all of us will again, a good friend or good friends can support you, take your hand, and help you to get through easier. And friends can also help you to build more confidence. Everybody has self-doubts here and there, but friends can really help you to support you, to push you, and to confirm you that what you are doing is the right track and what you are doing is the right thing to do. And having friends who support you plays a huge role in your own understanding and in creating your own self-esteem, in knowing that what you do is what you should do, and also in understanding that you may want to change certain things about your life. And that is because supportive friends can help you, to reassure you, to confirm you, or to challenge you in times that you are unsure of whether moving forward or not. Another factor is that friendships can most certainly help you to beat stress. If you have a good emotional foundation, if you know that you have some people to rely on, if you know that you can have a fallback and that there's always people who take care of you, it is in fact very likely that you will not experience a stressful time as difficult as if you do not have all that. Of course, spending time with friends, following activities that you like as friends, can reduce stress as well. And also, friends of course can help to cope with stressful situations and to help you to transition and get through more easy and smooth. And another factor I really like about good friends is that many good friends will at least try to push you to be your best. Friends can provide positive influence, and if you are befriended with people who are generous with spending their time, helping others, or supporting a community, it is more likely that you will also gain those traits and do the same. And therefore, great friends really have the ability to make you become the best version of yourself, as they do accept you the way you are, and they do encourage you to be that version, to be that self. Unfortunately or fortunately, there's also some signs that you should be able to read if it comes to friendships, and if it comes to understanding of whether or not you should invest more time in this friendship or not. And I've collected a few signs that I use for myself that show you that you should maybe not prioritize this friendship anymore. The first one is if you realize that spending time with a person leaves you worse and not better. If this happens, it's a very clear factor, it's a very clear understanding that you may not prioritize this friendship anymore. A second sign is that you consciously or subconsciously try to avoid spending time with one particular person or even a group of friends. So if you feel that you want to cancel the plans that you made with the person or with the group, If you feel an unease, if you're not looking forward to spending time with people, you may want to question that friendship as well. A third sign, and that's a fairly easy one, is if a person only contacts you whenever they need something from you, but don't give anything in return. If you feel yourself in such a situation, really make sure to question that friendship and to see whether or not it is worth prioritizing it or not. Another sign that you should be careful about a personal relationship with someone else is if that person tries to isolate you from other relationships you have in your life. By talking bad about people, by telling you that it's not good to hang out with particular people, and so forth. So while friendships are based on social exchange, there are certain people who definitely take more than they give back to a relationship. And I think it's important to understand and to be honest with yourself about such a situation, and also to know when to move on and when to communicate that this friendship might not be one for life. So after looking into my definition of friendship and why it's so important, having the benefits of friendship, and also understanding certain signs that you don't want to neglect if it comes to poisonous friendships and changes in friendships, let's take a look at a few ways on how to nurture your friendships. The first one for me is really to focus on the quality of your friendships, not on the quantity. In the end, it is not important how many friends you have. We've discussed earlier how many close inner circle friends I have, how many outer circle friends I have, and how many acquaintances I have. But after all, the numbers are not at all important. It is important that you have good friends or a good friend. Really focus on the quality with the people that you want to surround yourself with. Don't focus on the quantity. Don't find people that you don't really care about, and make sure that you have good quality friendships, even if it's only a very few. And also remember that it is in fact important to have different types of friendships that fill different roles of life. There's people that you really want to open up, but there's also people that you maybe just share a hobby with and that you do not need to exchange each and every information with. A second way to nurture and create long-lasting friendships is to actively keep track of them and be able to communicate changes. So first of all, understand with whom you are spending time with and match that with whether or not those are the people that you actually want to spend time with. Second, be honest with yourself. It is super important to be honest with yourself and to be honest also with the other person. Remember that not all of your friends are made for life. Some of them are there for a reason, some of them are there for a season, and only very few of your friends will sustain for life. And that is perfectly fine as well. For me, a third way to nurture your friendships is to in fact embrace vulnerability. For me, the only way to really closely connect to a friend is to be able to be vulnerable, is to be able to discuss what goes well, but also to be able to open up and talk about fears, challenges, and to support each other. And you may start with very small steps doing that if you have a difficulty opening up to another person, if you have a difficulty trusting other people. But trust is really a very important factor if it comes to friendship and if it comes to vulnerability and opening up to somebody else. Only if we open up and only if we can trust each other in good and in bad times, we will create long-lasting friends for life. So how about you tell a good friend of yours, someone you consider close, about something that is challenging in your life right now, about something that you need support with, and see how your friendship develops from there. A fourth way to nurture friendships is to be persistent and to take time. Actively take time in your calendar to call or to meet your friends in person. And if you spend time with them and not with anything else. If you're on the phone with them, do not have a meeting on the side, do not check your mails or your Instagram feed at the very same moment. And the same is true. If you meet someone, spend time with them. What really works well for me is to spend a lot of one-on-one time with my friends. I've practiced that a lot over the past few weeks, where I took the time to deliberately meet people individually and spend a few hours with them, to really make sure that we spend time with each other, not with our phones, not with other people, not with any distractions. So really make sure to prioritize time and then be with your friends. Prioritize time and spend time with them and not with anything else. And also understand your worth of being a friend. Don't be disappointed if somebody cancels on you once, but be alarmed if somebody does it 10 times. If somebody doesn't want to be your friend, if somebody doesn't put the effort to be your friend, just walk away. Maybe communicate about it, but also know that you are worthy being a friend and that you are not the one who always has to put the effort. For me, another way to nurture friendships is to surprise each other and to be creative if it comes to planning activities. You can, for example, call someone who wouldn't expect your call at this very moment. You could also go somewhere and knock on somebody's door and surprise someone. Or you can send somebody a note, physically or digitally, and tell him or her why you are grateful that this particular person is in your life. Surprise someone, make somebody happy, and make somebody smile. This will nurture the friendship with this very person. And what I also really like to do is to learn new skills with friends. This could be sports, this could be intellectually, and this could be really anything. But if you learn something as a team, as a group, for me, this is one of the greatest experiences of friendship. And this brings me to another idea on how to nurture friendship. And that is to find a buddy for an activity. Find a gym buddy, a reading buddy, or perhaps a travel buddy. Find someone whom you share a hobby with, or whom you want to share something together with, and do an activity together. And again, you can agree if this is an activity you do once a week, once a month, once every half year, but doing activities together with your friends really will bond you. And again, this can be done virtually or physically. I, for myself, have a few book buddies whom I read books with. I certainly have a few friends that I travel together with. Each and every year, I make sure to spend an amount of time with certain people. This could also be meeting once a week and cook dinner together. Again, you can be creative and you can find what makes you and your friends happy. And that leads me to tip number 8 on how to nurture friendships. And that is to organize events and spend time together. I've mentioned earlier that I really enjoy spending one-on-one time. And this is something that certainly nurtures my friendships. But sometimes it's also super amazing to create an event where you invite different people from different circles of friends. This is again the example of my birthday party, which we just had. It's been 20 people from very different phases of my life, some of which knew me for more than 20 years, some of which didn't know me that well, and many of the people did not know each other. And I'm more than sure that some of the people who got to know each other on that very weekend clicked, connected, and are going to be friends as well. Not necessarily friends for life, but potentially even that. And understand if your friends are capable and interested in connecting with other people, or if they are friends who rather want to be one-on-one friends. There's different types of people, and there's also different types of friends, as we've learned earlier. And for me, one of the most important ways to nurture friendships is the ability to speak up and to communicate. We all change, and that is perfectly fine. You change, your friends change, and we can acknowledge and appreciate the changes that we go through. Of course, we can communicate, and of course, we can support each other. But sometimes it's also important to understand that you and another person are not on the same track anymore. Understand that, appreciate that, and communicate that so that each individual knows what he or she is investing into, and that each and everybody knows if you or if the other person is prioritizing a friendship or not. Only if you have good agreement on that, this will not lead to frustration and to sadness on either hand. So if it happens, just make people aware that life has separated the two of you and that this is something that is okay for you. If this person is, or in fact was, your very good friend, he or she will understand. And if the other person does not understand, well, in the end, you didn't really lose much, did you? And with that, I would be super interested to hear from you what you think about friendships. Do you value them a lot? And do they play such an important role in your life as they do for me? Again, this was for me a very personal podcast episode on friendships, on something that I value so much. And I would be very interested to hear from you if such a free flow episode is interesting for you, if you take away something from it, and if you have something that resonates with you a lot, or if you have some parts that you really do not agree, that you in fact disagree with me. Please reach out. Let me know, comment, send me a mail, whatever is your means of communication, and I'm more than happy, more than excited to hear from you. And with that, I have a few questions that I would also love to hear from you about. And I really appreciate each and every one of you reaching out and answering those questions. The first question would be, how important are friendships for you? Please leave a number, 1 being not important at all, up to 10 being the most important thing in your life, as a comment on YouTube under this video. I would really appreciate your answer here. When did you last tell your loved ones that they are your loved ones, your close friends? When did you last surprise a good friend by calling them or knocking on their door? How much time do you in fact spend with your friends? Does it match the desired time that you would like to spend with your friends? When was the last time that you took inventory and listed all the friends and acquaintances you currently have? When did you last suggest a friend a common activity to follow? Again, I would be super interested if you share the activities that you proceed or that you at least suggested to your buddies. So please share your activities as a comment, as an inspiration for other people. And lastly, when was the last time that you moved on and that you decided a friendship shall not be continued, and how did it feel doing so? If you enjoy and learn from the Just Another Mindset podcast, please make sure to share this episode with a friend or two and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And if you want to receive a brief overview of what made me think over the past week and join like-minded individuals, you may want to sign up to my weekly newsletter. It is easy to sign up. It is super easy to unsubscribe again. You will get information on the newest podcast episode, and you will also get an overview of the content, books, and podcasts mainly, that I am consuming, and I evaluate what I've learned over the past week. You will also get your weekly dose of optimism, because you will receive the Smile News with 7 things that went right this week. And finally, you will get access to all my speaker notes that you can use to follow exercises and answer questions discussed in the podcast. Just follow the link in my bio to sign up for my newsletter, and I'm already excited to see you on the other side. If there is any future topic or guest that you would like to hear more about on the Just Another Mindset podcast, please let me know by leaving a comment on YouTube or sending a mail directly to contact@ismaelwondergarten.com. And if nobody told you lately, be reminded that you are worthy, you matter, and you can achieve anything.
Do more of what makes you happy.
Be yourself positive.
Change.
Just another mindset.